I've always prided myself on being the kind of husband who doesn't raise storms. I pick up my briefcase, kiss Eleanor on the cheek, tell her to have a good day. At 38, I hold a steady position in finance here in San Diego. Friends tell me I'm dependable. Maybe too dependable. Lately, I feel more like I'm living on autopilot. This morning started like any other. I poured my coffee, glanced at the clock, wore my favorite navy coat because the mornings are still crisp. I checked my phone, just work emails at first. Then a message from Luca came through. Luca's a pilot, one of my best friends. He's in the sky half my life. He said something strange. He was flying a business class route to Honolulu, and halfway through he saw Eleanor sitting across the aisle with a man neither of us know. My heart skipped. I stared at my screen trying to force the words back into what I could accept. A business trip, a wrong name on the ticket, nothing more. But Luca went into detail. The seat, the posture, the way she laughed, something in his voice told me he was certain. I dropped the spoon in my coffee. The clink felt louder than I would have liked. I called Eleanor. Her voice sounded warm, familiar. "Still in town," she said. "Work called me early, so I skipped the trip." She paused, and something in the way she said skip made me want to hang up and never call again. I asked for confirmation of her schedule. She said she'd send me a calendar invite later. I hung up and walked outside. The Pacific air felt sharp. I remembered when we met, how I showed her around the pier, how she said, "Home is where my heart is," and I believed home meant our life together. But this message from Luca splintered that belief in half. The sun broke through the clouds over the ocean. I stood still, feeling something unfamiliar, betrayal or maybe a seed of dread. I didn't do anything yet. I drove as if nothing changed, nodded at strangers in traffic, let every stoplight give me a second to wonder. By dinner, I was quiet. She asked how my day went. I lied. Same as always. My throat felt heavy. I considered confronting her. That question lodged in my chest, but I swallowed it. Sometimes silence is more dangerous than screaming. That night, I slid my laptop out from where I leave it on her desk. Shared machine. Hesitant fingers. I navigated her shared folder. There it was, a locked folder named Hawaii Pics. My pulse thrummed. My hands trembled. I wasn't ready for what I found. And yet, it made perfect sense. The password wasn't hard to guess. Our anniversary, month and year, followed by her middle name. I stared at the keyboard for a while, hands hovering. Part of me hoped it wouldn't work. That maybe she changed it, moved on, protected her privacy the way I had always respected it. But it opened. Inside the folder was a timeline of betrayal. Email chains with subject lines like, "Can't wait to see you again," and "Same room, different island," not one, not two, but dozens. Each thread packed with inside jokes, emojis, and suggestive remarks that no decent married woman should be sharing with anyone else. Attachments showed partial screenshots, hotel confirmations in Kauai, dinner reservations in Lahaina, a blurred selfie of the two of them on a boat. He wasn't a fling. He was a second life. She planned the lies like someone balancing two calendars, one for work, one for lust. She had masked it all with her usual structure, neat, efficient, emotionless. But here, in this folder, it all unraveled. The receipts, the flights, the whispered plans. Each detail hit harder than the last. I wasn't cheated on. I was replaced, quietly, meticulously, with precision. The image from Luca, grainy as it was, now had a name. I reverse-searched a few images and found him in less than an hour. Edward Granger, Ed to his friends, CEO of a logistics company based in Honolulu, mid-50s. Divorced twice, smug in every public photo he posted. It didn't take long to trace back their connection. A charity gala 2 years ago. Eleanor smiling in a silver dress I now realized I'd never seen before. Ed standing beside her with a drink, hand on her waist. The caption read, "Making connections for good." She didn't just betray me. She rehearsed it. From that point, I started cataloging Ed's digital footprint. Golf tournaments, quarterly board meetings, speaking engagements. I noted every time she claimed to be on a wellness retreat. They matched. She was never on a retreat. She was with him. That night, she cooked steak, medium rare, just how I like it. She even lit a candle on the table. The kind gesture twisted my stomach. "How was work?" she asked, pouring wine. I answered without blinking. "Busy." She leaned on the counter and sighed. "I've been thinking, maybe I need a break soon, something quiet, by myself." I smiled, nodded. "You should." But inside, I was studying her every move, the way her smile faltered when I held eye contact too long, the way she filled her glass again without asking me. Later, in the garage, I let out a scream no one heard, just the muffled sound of a man cracking. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. The next day, Luca came by with a bottle of whiskey. We didn't clink glasses. We just poured. "If you were me," I asked, "would you want to know more, or destroy what you already know?" He paused. "Truth is a weapon. Just don't cut yourself with it first." We scrolled through the folder together. Luca's hands clenched at the sight of the messages. "She planned all this," he muttered. "It wasn't heat of the moment. This was architecture." I started typing a message to Ed. Just, "We need to talk," then stopped. Deleted it. Not yet. "If she played me like a fool," I said, "she'll see what it's like when the fool writes the ending." Days passed. Eleanor mentioned she was thinking of booking a spa weekend next month, said it would be restorative. I offered to handle the arrangements. Told her I had miles to burn. She agreed. I booked it, one way. From then on, I watched her the way a writer studies a character. Not with love, with curiosity. We were a marriage of mirrors. She projected. I reflected. Neither of us blinked. I recalled a quote I once heard on a podcast. "Some people don't stab you. They hand you the knife and watch you do it yourself." I started planting seeds. Then tonight, while she was in the shower, I checked her trash folder. Something caught my eye. A draft, never sent. It was addressed to Ed. "I never told you I'm married," it began. I closed the laptop slowly, and just like that, the liar had lied to the one she left me for. I didn't expect today's reunion to twist like this. Eleanor told me her sister was hosting a small family gathering, her way of saying, "You should come," while also whispering, "But you won't like it." I insisted. I said I wanted to be more present. She paused, checked her phone, glanced away, then said yes. It was late Sunday afternoon. The diner smelled of fried chicken and espresso. Curtains filtered golden light across Formica tables. Her family sat already, laughing, touching shoulders. I slipped into a chair next to Eleanor. Across the room, Ed Granger was there, introduced as a consultant, smiling like this arrangement made sense. Her brother said hi. Ed nodded. I clenched my napkin, hiding the knot in my stomach. Her mother raised her glass in a toast. She spoke about supporting Eleanor through stress, gratitude for her strength. Ed raised his glass a bit too eager, hand steady, smile firm. Everyone watched Eleanor. She flushed. She fumbled words, laughed too loud. I forced a calm smile. I said, "To loyalty, which, like family, should never be part-time." A few glances, some curious, others sympathetic. Eleanor's hand trembled around her fork. Outside afterward, Ed caught up to me in the parking lot. I asked casually, "How long have you two been working together?" He paused like he'd rehearsed a vague lie. "Oh, months here and there. Travel a lot." I nodded. I asked, "Hawaii's nice this time of year, isn't it?" Ed's brow lifted. He attempted a quick correction. "I haven't been in a while." I let it drift. Silence hung between us, sharp as glass. Driving home, Eleanor didn't say a word. I did. "Do you know what hurt the most today?" She looked at me through the rear view. I said, "Seeing you bring a stranger into what used to be mine and pretending I was the stranger." Silence. She said coldly, "Don't start." I caught myself wanting to shout, wanting to throw something, but I didn't. I exhaled, stared through the windshield at streetlights that blurred in the dusk. I remembered that Christmas night when she said, "Wherever we are, as long as it's you and me, I'm home." Once, I believed it. Now it felt like someone else's memory. I parked in front of our house. My hands were steady, My heart rattled. Then Luca messaged, "You'll want to see this. It's worse than we thought." The screen glowed. My pulse nearly stopped. The video clip attachment sat there waiting. I never thought a fireplace could lie to me. This Sunday morning, I turned the corner onto Maureen's parents' street. Quiet, tree-lined, familiar. The suburban calm that used to speak home now feels heavy with something unspoken. I open the door, step in. The fireplace mantel still holds framed photos of laughter, of promises. Photos of us, early on, smiles wide, hands loosely clasped. Now the same frames, same smiles, feel staged. Her mother greets me with warmth that's just a mask. Maureen's eyes flicker to her phone, distracted. I grip the coffee mug she hands me, heat searing in my palms. A photo of a vacation she once said she would never forget sits on the mantel. I trace its edge. I let memory flood. Our first holiday together. How she said, "I made everything brighter." Now it's just a relic. Over pancakes, her sister laughs about corporate retreats and spa plans. Maureen forces a smile when someone mentions Hawaii. Her voice betrays nothing. She says work trip, deadlines. Her sister asks casually, "How was your trip, Ed?" As though Ed has always belonged. I swallow bile. I answer her mother, "Work's busy." The speech feels heavy. My throat tastes of regret. She looks away. The pancake syrup drips too slow. I think, why was I never given that spot beside family, that respect she gives Ed? Brunch ends. I hang my coat over Maureen's mother's coat rack. I notice a receipt tucked in the pocket, boutique in Waikiki. Same date as Ed's return, same kind of gift I once gave her. Proof rests in cotton and ink. I draw breath. I recall when she dismissed my small gestures as not needed, said, "I don't care about gifts." That lie cuts sharp. I clutch the receipt, my heart pounding. I feel the architecture of deception. Maureen offers a ride home. She brushes past the door as if brushing me aside. I say I'll walk. The sidewalk sun feels cold. I walk slow, letting my boots scrape concrete. Yeah, I remember our shared plans, a house in Carmel Valley. She said, "You complete me once under golden light." I repeated it, believed it. Now every memory feels edited. She's standing there in that house sketch, but it wasn't ours. On the driveway, she steps out. "I promise, everything I did, I had reasons. I thought you'd understand." Her words, too practiced. She glances at the fireplace window behind her, the photo of us above the mantel. I look back at her through the foyer glass. I say, "Promising is easy when no one can see your betrayal." The front door stays open, the porch light left burning. I turn away. I walk down the steps before the night falls heavy. At home, I find an envelope under the doormat. Envelope with her name. I tear it open. A boarding pass, first class. Date stamped that same morning. I stare at it. The edges crumpled. My breath catches. Pain instant. Clarity unbearable. The video started buffering slowly. At work, in the private lounge tucked away from the trading floor, I opened Luca's message. The subject line was short. "Watch this alone." And so I did. The clip was grainy, pulled from a high-end security cam, time-stamped from that luxury resort in Oahu. At first, nothing unusual. Just a hallway, elevator, quiet doors. Then she appeared. Maureen, hair tied up, the coral dress she claimed she wore to treat herself, stepping out of a suite. Minutes later, Ed exited the same door, adjusting his watch, calm, confident. He looked both ways before placing a soft kiss on her forehead, not rushed, not hidden, as if they had time to spare, like they'd done this before. I froze the frame. His hand on her shoulder, rewound, played it again, then again. My chest tightened with each loop. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a blueprint, a betrayal rehearsed, a house built on precise lies. And somehow, still arrogant enough to leave the lights on, I didn't wait. That afternoon, I walked into Ed's office, downtown San Diego, glass walls and overpriced minimalism. I told the receptionist I had a meeting about a possible logistics merger. She believed me. Within 10 minutes, I was sitting across from Ed Granger, sipping coffee I never touched. He smiled like he always does, smug, polished, said he admired my discipline in a volatile market. I let him talk. Then, when the timing felt right, I reached into my coat and slid a printed still from the Hawaii footage across the desk. He stared, didn't blink, didn't reach for it, didn't deny it. I leaned forward just enough and said, "Partnerships only work when both sides are honest." Then I stood, pushed my chair back, and added, "If I were you, I'd tell her I know, before I make it public." As I walked out, I didn't look back, but I knew I left a fracture behind me. That night, it unraveled faster than I could have scripted. Maureen sent a message, meant for Ed, but it landed in the family group chat. WhatsApp. Her sister, her brother, her cousins. All of us in one thread. It read, "Same hotel next weekend. Room 403 again?" I saw it first. Then her brother replied. Seconds later, the message vanished. Deleted. She followed up. "Oops, wrong thread. Work stuff." No one responded. A cousin exited the group. Silence stayed, the kind of silence that doesn't just sit, it spreads. By dinner, Maureen acted like it hadn't happened. Stirring soup, humming a tune she only hums when she's covering guilt. I waited till she sat. "You've got until Friday," I said. Calm, plain, no theater. "To tell me everything. No filters, no edits." She blinked, tried to laugh. "What's this, an ultimatum?" "You won't get another deadline," I replied, no louder than before. She stared. "What do you think you know?" I set my spoon down. "Enough to know what you think I never will." She left her plate untouched and walked upstairs. I finished my meal alone, the scrape of knife on porcelain louder than any fight we could have had. Later that evening, I walked past the living room. There it was, our framed sketch, the house we dreamed of, penciled by her hand, shaded gently in the corners. She called it Someday. I took it off the wall, opened the hallway drawer, laid it down, closed it quietly. That drawing wasn't our dream anymore. It was just evidence. Just before bed, my phone buzzed. New voicemail. I played it. It was her sister, whispering, panicked. "You need to know something about Ed. And it's not just about Maureen." I found the photo late that night in the guest room under a stack of old yearbooks. Scrolling through yellowed pages, I froze when I saw them. Maureen and Kenton, side by side at a high school fundraiser, their smiles wide. Familiar. The caption read Springfest '05. It was dated 3 years before I met her. She'd always told me she didn't know him then, that she was single. All of it now lay exposed in that faded image. "Old friends don't matter," she used to say. I held the picture with trembling fingers, feeling the weight of deception. The past she buried had roots deeper than the lies I thought she told only recently. If honesty was ever our promise, she broke it long before today. After dinner the next night, I placed the photo on the kitchen table. She glanced at it, eyes narrowing. I said softly, "This looks familiar." She stiffened. "Old yearbooks lie," she replied, voice light but strained. I held back anger, tried to keep it calm. I said, you said you didn't know him then. You said you were single. Our wedding vows said truth." She looked away, defensive. She raised her voice for the first time in months. "You always want proof, not peace." The words landed like stones. I pressed, "I deserve peace built on truth." She stayed silent, then left the room saying she was going to sleep. The door clicked. I sat alone with half-heard promises echoing off walls. Sometime later, my phone lit up. An email from Ed Granger, CC'd to Maureen. Subject, "I'm sorry if there were misunderstandings." Attached, a receipt from a Maui hotel same day as a business meeting, she claimed. Address, check-in time, room number. Everything matched the evidence I already had. Damage control. I stared at the email, force of betrayal lancing through. I typed a reply, then deleted it. Silence felt more powerful than confrontation. They think an apology buys silence. They misjudge me. I walked through our living room, touching items that used to matter, and still did, though their meaning had shifted. A framed photo from our honeymoon, the anniversary watch she gifted me, coffee mugs from trips we took together. Have I ever truly known her, or was I building trust in shadows? I whispered to myself. I sat on the couch, heartache rising into something sharper. I remembered her parents' words when I arrived at her childhood home. Bevan, you're patient, perhaps too patient. Yeah. And I remembered forgiving small lies, thinking love works that way. For a moment, I considered giving up everything, selling the house, walking away from the life I built around her integrity. But I didn't give up. Midnight came and I sat at my desk under the soft glow of the lamp. I gathered all the evidence, the high school photo, the Maui receipt, emails, the booking confirmations, the coat pocket receipt from that Sunday brunch. I opened my laptop and created a folder titled Truth. I zipped everything carefully, my fingers shaking but steady. I thought of words I once heard. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Maya Angelou's voice in the dark. I attached the folder to a message and sent it to Luca. Watch carefully. These pieces offer truth. The resolve inside me hardened. I would no longer hide in shadow. I would no longer pretend ignorance. I was done. Then her message came, texted across the room where I sat. We need to talk. I know you found out something. I read it a dozen times. Her tone unreadable. Apology, defiance, threat. The room felt cold. Something about tonight changed the current between us. I set the phone down. I stared at nothing. The valet took my keys, and I adjusted the cufflinks Maureen gave me 5 years ago, back when everything still felt unbreakable. I stepped inside the convention center, tux pressed, tie straight, face calm. Inside, the place shimmered with soft amber lights. Guests sipped cocktails under chandeliers, laughter and business blending like perfume and aftershave. Familiar faces nodded. I returned smiles without warmth. On stage, Eleanor stood tall, perfect posture, polished voice rehearsing in her head. Her dress shimmered, sharp shoulders and sharp intentions. Kenton stood next to her, relaxed, smug. I thought of how she never let me join her on stages like that. Always said she didn't want to mix personal with public. Yet here she was, mixing it proudly. I moved through the crowd, handshakes and small talk, pretending not to feel the sting behind my ribs. Every compliment she received tonight sat atop my invisible scaffolding. Years of ideas, of planning, of late-night pep talks she turned into speeches that never carried my name. She began. The mic worked for a second. She smiled, then static cracked through the speakers. Her voice warbled, cut out. Murmurs filled the room. She tried again, faltering. The screen behind her flickered to life, and there it was, the framed drawing from our living room, the house we'd sketched together one foggy Sunday, hung behind her, as if it had always belonged to her story. Kenton stepped in, touching her arm like a cue, and then took over. Innovation, he said. Partnership. Vision. He spoke like a man stealing fire. I watched the room, their shifting gazes. Some whispered, some checked their phones. I saw it then, how their empire had cracks under the lights. When the applause thinned, a staff member handed Kenton a sleek new tablet. He tapped, and the screen projected their latest concept, the gift of vision. Right there in the design mock-up, our dream house sketch reappeared, credited to Eleanor. I heard someone behind me whisper, "That looks like Bevan's old design." Another voice answered, "Didn't he draw that?" Eleanor tried to smooth it. "That was a sketch Bevan made back when we were brainstorming. The company, so we developed it further." I stepped forward, hands steady. "That drawing was mine. I designed it with her, before any of you were in the room." Silence dropped like glass. Faces turned. Her mouth opened, then closed. She blinked fast, like something got in her eye. Kenton shifted beside her, expression tightening. I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I just stood there. The weight of my truth hung heavier than her applause. Later in the lobby, people approached me one by one. Some offered half-hearted sympathy. Others whispered support. I caught glimpses of her, face tense, shoulders hunched now. Kenton avoided me entirely. Maureen's mother brushed past and murmured, "Bevan." But her eyes dropped. She couldn't meet mine. I wasn't angry. I was emptied, vindicated, but still scarred. I didn't get joy watching her falter, but I finally got my voice back. I left quietly, my body aching from holding the truth inside too long. In the car, parked under a quiet tree away from the noise, I scrolled through the night's photos. The sketch. The silence. Her face when I spoke. I whispered, "You gave me the knife." And the stage. But I get to choose how the scene ends. I opened my secure drive, uploaded everything. Emails, photos, hotel receipts, the booking confirmations. Matched each lie to proof. I created folders marked media, legal, and personal. I wasn't hiding anymore. Maya Angelou once said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." I wasn't going to carry that agony another day. Just as I pulled into my driveway, my phone buzzed. A message from Eleanor. "You forced me tonight. Do you want to see what else is hidden?" I stared at it. My hand didn't tremble. My mouth didn't dry. I just stared, already knowing the answer. The house was quiet again. I sat in my study, the hum of the desk lamp casting a soft circle of light on the mahogany surface. That's when it came in, an email titled, "I'm sorry," signed, "With love, Eleanor." But the tone, the phrasing, it had Ed's fingerprints all over it. Cold, precise, PR polished. Not remorse, just containment. Attached was a PDF, final transfer confirmation. A wire sent to Ed from her joint account with me, dated 2 months ago. The vendor, a custom jeweler in Napa. I stared at the amount. It was obscene. My chest tightened. I remembered the same weekend she told me she was at a women's leadership retreat. Instead, she bought a ring for the man who helped her erase me. This wasn't reconciliation. This was insult, layered with pity, and a cruel kind of arrogance. She wanted to wrap things up neat, like my dignity could be paid off with a digital receipt. I walked into the living room where our family photos lived, or used to. My smile used to beam from every angle, but now one of the centerpiece photos had been swapped. It was the holiday photo on the coast, only now Ed had been cropped in, literally pasted. My name, which had once been calligraphed into the bottom matting, was removed. White space where I used to be. Her sister glanced at me as I stood there. Her mother, too. No one said a word. No one looked surprised. That told me everything. I picked up the frame. The background image behind us, the dream house sketch again. The one I'd drawn, the one she paraded on stage, now recycled as cozy background noise in her new narrative. I whispered to myself, when the people you love erase your name, you must write it back yourself. And I meant it. Dinner had come and gone. The house smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and cinnamon. Maureen's attempt to make things normal. I invited Eleanor and Kenton into the dining room. The kids were gone, the house still. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam anything. I laid it all out. Every lie lined up like receipts in a tax audit. Emails, photos, hotel confirmations, credit card slips, the old coat pocket receipt, even that yearbook photo. I spread them across the table. I never asked to be perfect, I said. I asked to be real. Eleanor opened her mouth, but only air came out. Kenton started to speak, and I turned toward him. You built your narrative around me. Now I'm going to dismantle it. I gathered the documents into a binder and walked out the front door. Neither of them followed. The garage was cool. I turned on the light, pulled back the old painter's tarp. There it was, our dream house sketch, still framed, dusty, but intact. I stared at it for a moment before placing it down gently on a shelf. I didn't break it, didn't burn it. I didn't want revenge on the drawing. It had been drawn in love, even if the love behind it had frayed. Dreams only last as long as the truth behind them. And the truth had left a while ago. Back at my desk, I had 2 tabs open. One was a lawyer's intake form, the other, a private email to Luca. I paused. My hands hovered. I didn't want to play chess with people who only knew how to play dirty. I remembered something Maya Angelou once said. You love people so much, you make them lie to you. You still love them anyway. That hit me harder now than ever before. I decided to send some of the evidence to Luca, just enough to protect myself, not to destroy anyone. I wasn't looking for war, just closure. But I made a silent vow. I will never let my silence be mistaken for weakness again. I texted Luca, "I'm done playing defense." Then I shut the laptop, closed the binder, let the stillness sit with me. And then the doorbell rang. I opened it. Eleanor stood there, hair slightly messy, lips tight, eyes rimmed with something that wasn't quite tears but hadn't yet hardened into pride. She didn't speak right away. Just handed me a small velvet box. Inside was a folded note, handwritten. "This meant more than you'll ever know." I stared at it, unmoving. My heart stood between hope and war. The waves sounded different that morning, quieter, somehow more honest. I sat alone on the cool sand, bundled in an old sweatshirt I hadn't worn in years. The same sweatshirt I used to wear on late-night drives when I didn't want to go home. 2 weeks had passed since Eleanor stood on my doorstep with that small box. I never opened it. Didn't need to. What mattered had already been said, and what hadn't didn't deserve space anymore. For the first time in months, I'd slept through the night without waking up to memories that twisted in the dark. No dreams, just silence. The sky turned amber above the water, soft, unbothered. It looked like clarity. I didn't crave answers anymore. I wasn't waiting for a twist to redeem the pain. That chapter had closed, whether she knew it or not, and I was done rereading the same page, hoping for a different ending. I thought about all the decisions I had made, the times I stayed quiet, the battles I let go of. I didn't feel anger anymore, just space, distance. I remembered something Oprah once said, "True forgiveness is when you can say, 'Thank you for that experience.'" I wasn't quite there yet, but I could at least say, "Thank you for the lesson." Later that afternoon, I sat at my desk with a pen and a blank sheet of paper. No email, no intention to send it, just a letter I needed to write for me. "Dear Eleanor and Kenton," it began, not out of spite, not with venom, just truth. I wrote, "I lost a marriage. I didn't lose myself. I talked about the dinners, the arguments, the ways we drifted, the small betrayals that stacked up like unpaid bills. I wrote about the night we danced in the kitchen barefoot and drunk. I wrote about the last time I saw her really look at me without measuring what she could gain. I didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't offer it either. Some things don't need resolution. They just need acknowledgement." When I finished, I folded the letter, walked outside, and burned it. The wind carried the ash into the same sky I'd stared at that morning. I didn't flinch. That evening, I took a walk with my son. He held my hand tighter than usual. "Why did Daddy move out?" he asked. I paused, then said, "Sometimes people forget how to love the right way. That doesn't mean they stop loving." He didn't ask more. He just nodded. We went back to the yard, and I helped him build a kite. It was red and yellow, loud against the sky. As it caught the wind, I held the spool steady. I thought, I'm not raising a boy to repeat pain. I'm raising a man to redefine strength. He laughed as the kite soared higher. And in that moment, everything felt lighter. The next morning, Luca called. His voice trembled. "There's something you need to hear," he said. "I got a voicemail from Kenton. It came in a few days ago, before everything went down." He played it. Kenton's voice was uneven, weary. "I never loved her. I envied the life he had. That house, that peace. I just wanted a piece of it." Luca was quiet. "Should we share this?" I thought for a long moment, staring out the window. "No," I said. "Sometimes the truth is more powerful when we don't use it." And that was that. I spent the afternoon packing boxes in the garage, old clothes, shoes I hadn't worn in years, pieces of a past I no longer needed to carry. In the bottom of one box, I found my college journal, scribbled dreams, notes about the kind of life I wanted before compromise rewrote everything. One page stood out. "Write a book," it said. "Maybe call it The Art of Holding on Letting Go." I smiled. Later that evening, I received an invitation to speak at a local women's retreat. Topic: resilience. I accepted, not because I had all the answers, but because I finally understood the questions. Pain doesn't make us broken. It makes us awake. The sun had dipped low when I stepped outside, keys in hand. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "There's more I need to tell you about Hawaii." I didn't freeze. I didn't panic. I just looked ahead, then opened the car door and drove forward.